Thinking about upgrading your PC and you just so happen to have built your PC to be upgradable. Now, if you're new here, I made a few videos basically on this topic where I think it's important to put money into certain parts of your PC build. That way, if you wanted to, you can go from a 3060 to a 5070. And all you have to do is swap one cable and buy your new GPU. And you can sell your old GPU to help fund your new one. So in this video, I'm going to simply walk through swapping out this 3060 for the 5070 and then just do some basic game testing to show you guys the increase in performance. And if you're new here, I go by NickyT and I love creating tech, gaming, and PC build content. So if that resonates with you, subscribe as you watch this video. I appreciate you guys for watching and let's just jump in. All right, so you may be wondering, how do I know if my power supply is compatible with a 5070 if you're choosing to use a 5070 or a higher end NVIDIA GPU? Now, the way that you can simply do that, one is by just Google searching it. What power connector does it require? Generally, you can look at a power supply and see if it's ATX 3.1, and it'll say it right on the box or when you're searching it up. And generally, it'll have a specific call out for this cable here. It's a 12 volt 6+2 pin, so there's 12 total, and you can see this coloration. It's going to be blue and white like that. And it generally says 600 watts on it. Now, the reason why they do that blue coloring, and this is a pro safety tip, make sure that's fully inserted and you don't want to see any of the blue left. That lets you know that it's fully inserted, and that helps it lessen your chance of it actually catching on fire or melting. And you definitely don't want that happening, right? But you're going to need only one of these if you want to power a 5070, or they actually come with a splitter cable, but up to you. I actually prefer to use this cable. The splitter cable, I just don't like that much going in through the splitter personally, but a lot of people also, they don't really feel comfortable using this too. So it's up to you to make that decision whenever you build your PC. All right, and then for those of you that really just want the answer really quickly, yes, it is worth it to upgrade to a 5070 from a 3060 if your PC build can support that upgrade. And I think it's one of the best ways to actually upgrade your PC. You can quite literally go from low tier 1440p gaming or high-end 1080p gaming with the 3060 to literal 4K high settings with one update right here. So that's why I always advocate for overbuilding certain parts of your PC. So that way later down the road, you don't have to build a whole new PC. You can sell your old GPU and then buy the new one, save some money by doing it that way, and be on your way and enjoy yourself gaming. So we're just gonna jump right in and I'm gonna just replace this really quickly. And if you guys were curious, I have the Lian Li, it's the SX850P. So if you guys are interested in that, I think it's a really good power supply. I always like Lian Li power supplies personally. I love the white cables, and they also come with cable combs and everything like that. So it's really easy to keep really clean looking. And I've always just been really pleased with them. So I continue to buy Lian Li power supplies and I've had zero issues personally. This is going to be a little bit of a guide. So if you're uncomfortable doing this, then feel free to watch this and learn how to do it and gain a little bit of confidence. First thing you want to do, make sure you disconnect any cables that are coming from the graphics card. And that's generally going to be any display port or HDMI cable. And then next you want to disconnect the power right here. Make sure you turn off the power to your PC before you actually start getting in there. And you're just going to flip the little switch that's on your power supply. And then generally what I do from there is I hold down the power button for a few seconds. And generally that'll discharge any additional power that's in the system. Sometimes you will see it actually light up for a split second and then shut off after you do that. So I'm always been confident that that's pretty well discharged. So check that out. Make sure you do that whenever you're going in here. Next, what you do is you pull out this cable right here, and there's a little clip generally on the bottom, or however it's configured. There's going to be a clip for the PCIe cable, and you just pull that clip and then you can just pull it out, wiggle it out. There you go. Always grab by the connector too. Anytime you're grabbing any sort of PC component cable, make sure you always grab by the actual connector and not the cables, because you don't want to accidentally pull out a pin. I actually used to make these cables back in the day. I fabricated cables, so I could probably make these, but I'm a little out of practice now. After that, you want to make sure you hit this little latch that holds the GPU in. What you're looking for is this latch that's right here. Generally, you can see it pretty easily. I've seen newer motherboards, they're actually easier to get to. Mine is actually protruding above the graphics card right here. Some of them are a little harder to get to, they're down below, but you can push them usually with a screwdriver. It's what I use. And you can pop it and you'll literally feel it move and delatch the graphics card. So once you have that done, you can then work to remove the screws back here to actually loosen the GPU out of place. Now, my case is a little different. Instead of using thumb screws, it only has this one screw in the back right here, and I can take this plate off. And then the graphics card is actually free to remove now. Generally, you want to remove the thumb screws that hold the PCIe bracket in place. And now you can clearly see that this is ready to come out, and then you just pull it out, just like that. Don't be afraid to ruin it as long as you make sure that you detached it right here. And it's always going to be on the right side. All right. Next up, what you want to do is you look for your PCIe cable. And generally, especially on newer and power supplies, they're going to actually have the actual description of where the cable goes. So you're going to just look for the one that says PCIe. The newer ones too, they can say CPU or PCIe. So this one has two different ones that say CPU and PCIe. So you're just gonna have to trace the cable to see which one is which. So it looks like my CPU cable is this bottom one because it goes up towards the top, and this one goes towards the bottom. So we're gonna remove that. Same thing, grab the connector, lift the latch, and you should be able to wiggle it and then remove it. So that one is now removed. Bam. Now, all you gotta do is take this, plug it into the 12 volt 2x6 power connector. And I'll show you guys that with a close-up. So what you're looking for is the one that says 12 volt 2x6. And it's gonna be the only connector that really matches the way that this one looks. So from here, you're gonna just plug in. And generally the side that already has the cable comes on, that's what you wanna feed through. That's gonna make it look really nice and clean. So you just feed that through, and then from here, you just plug it in. And it's really easy with this 4-pin on top, and you just match that up. Plug it in, so you guys can get a better close-up. This is the pin right here, or the connector where you insert it. So it's gonna say 12 volt, 2x6, and you see how there's no blue showing? That's how you know it's plugged in all the way, all right? And check this thing out. I have had this card for almost a year now, and I got it for $185, and it's still great even for today. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, so stay tuned. We'll see. Not sure. All right, so we're ready to pull out the 5070. I actually bought this a while ago, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do as far as the direction of my channel, but now I'm pretty confident that I want to be able to be a resource for people and help people that want to get into PC gaming, because I do think it's a small barrier to overcome, but once you do, it just pays off so much more, and you're going to be so much happier as a gamer. Personally, check it out. So this is a smaller one, so it's not a 3-fan design, it's only a 2-fan design, which I actually kind of like, because the newer graphics cards can be so big, and I wanted to have this to be able to fit in TX builds or something like that, and it's honestly not that much bigger than the 3060. Look at that. Kind of crazy. So if you guys want to know, this is the Ventus 2X by MSI. So all you want to do is remove it from the anti-static bag. And then what you should always do with a new graphics card, inspect it quickly. 1, to see if there's any defects, and then 2, to see if it has any plastic covering on the card. This one doesn't seem to have a lot. You're gonna want to remove this PCIe cover, and I always just put it back in this bag. That way I know where it is. And then from here, just make sure that there's no stickers that you need to peel off. I may have already removed them when I did my initial unboxing of it. So here we are. It's gonna look cool. I like the white and black theme personally. I don't care too much to have all white or all black. I do like white builds over black builds, but that's the fun thing about doing this, is you could just mix match and do whatever. All right, so what you want to do is generally the fans are going to face down in the case, and that aligns the PCIe. So you want to also see how many PCIe slots it's going to be, and you can generally see this when you match it up to the bracket at how many of the brackets it eats up. This one looks like 2, so it should actually match. I don't think I would have to do anything special. It looks like it's going to match. So you just line it up, wait for it to slot in place, and then all you have to do is just evenly press in and it'll snap into place. Now that's locked in. All I need to do is put my bracket back on, and generally you could also do the thumb screws for majority of the cases. But this one, again, it's a little unique. It just has this one screw that holds in. So just gonna reinstall that real quick. All right, so now that doesn't move at all. And that's how you know your graphics card is seated properly. It doesn't move at all and it's evenly in there, and you can always just give it a nice flat push on both sides of the graphics card at the same time. Now you wanna make sure that you take your power connector and you're just gonna match it up again with that 4-pin showing at the top, and you're just gonna slot it in. And the nice thing too is just push it in until you don't see any blue again. And the lovely thing about Leon Lee, again, look at this. This is gonna look so clean because they have the cable combs. So I don't even need to do anything else with this. It's ready to go. All right, so I just wanted to clarify a concept earlier as well. You do not need to have a 3.1 ATX power supply in order to use a 5070, because they usually include this splitter cable. So the splitter cable is going to allow you to run 2 PCIe cables that are 8 pins, and you can run 2 of those. So you're going to need to use 2 separate cables to feed to this one. But I always say, personally, make sure power supply, I think always overinvest a little bit in your power supply, because it's really nice to be able to just drop in a new graphics card and hit go, and there you go, you're ready to go. So just wanted to make sure I clarified that. You can use it without ATX 3.1, but something to think about. There's another tip too, whether you want it or not, but take your time, you know, rewrap your cables back up, make them nice and neat, put them back where they belong, all of your parts back where they belong, you know, wrap them back up. If they have bags that they come in, generally I keep like the spare parts for my power supply, I keep them in the power supply box so I don't have to look for them. And I keep the spare parts for my motherboard in the motherboard box, and I keep the spare parts for the GPU in the GPU box, and the list goes on. And I generally will pack all of these boxes inside of the tower case that it came in, so I know all the parts that are in that build. There's just a way that I help myself to stay organized, especially if you plan on doing multiple builds, or a year down the road you're like, man, where did I put that? You know exactly where it is. So just pro tip, if you want to hear it or not. All right, so to get hooked back up, the only thing that we need to do at this point, we've done power, we've reconnected it to the motherboard, is actually we just need to set up our DisplayPort cable, and we just need to plug in our HDMI cable. Now it's very important you're plugging in your display cables to the actual graphics card. I've had even a lot of my friends or people ask me questions, or I've actually sold some PCs and they're like, hey, I'm not getting a video signal. And that's because they're plugging it into the motherboard. So just make sure you're plugging it into the graphics card. So just see where your graphics card is and go to the back of it. And generally it's gonna have these little caps right here that you have to remove to plug in your connectors. So at this point, we are actually fully ready to launch the PC up, make sure everything works, and do some gaming. Another tip, if you're ever upgrading a graphics card or switching graphics cards between AMD and NVIDIA, make sure you use something like DDU and remove all of your old drivers, do a clean wipe, restart your PC, re-download your drivers. It's just gonna help clean up all of that bloat, and it could help if you're having issues with your graphics or stutters, or you know, there's so many things that are impacted by it, or crashes. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing that. Just make sure you clean drivers and then do a fresh install. So we reached the point where we're gonna kick the power back on, and we're gonna make sure there's nothing wrong with any of this, and hopefully it all turns back on. You never know. So we have power so far. Beautiful. Let's make sure that CPU turns on. The fans on the GPU are spinning, so I think we're good to go. I'll just have to get my monitor set back up and then we can continue with the game testing. Okay, so the first thing you always want to do after you clean your drivers, just make sure, see if there's a new driver, and just download that driver. So I'm using NVIDIA, so I use the NVIDIA app to download my drivers. You're just gonna do, I just do express install and you're on your way. Guys, we've loaded into the practice range here and we're actually running at 3840 by 2160. So showing you that you can play Arc Raiders at 4K, and we're gonna leave everything on Epic preset, and we're gonna do Epic RTX Global Illumination. So you guys can see that. So we're gonna leave DLSS, we're gonna leave it on quality. There's no frame generation and Epic preset. So you guys can see here, we're well above 60 FPS. We're getting around 80. To note on the 3060, this game is actually so well optimized that even on the 3060, I was actually able to play around 30 FPS. Medium settings with DLSS auto is able to get around 60 FPS, 50 to 60. So with being able to turn settings down on this, you could expect even better performance here. But you can see our GPU is pretty much maxed out at 99% and the processor is at 44. So you can definitely tell we're GPU limited at 4K. But what we can do is let's actually set to what I would say is more play settings. So I actually love DLSS auto. Personally, use this, try it out. I can't tell a difference and you get such an FPS bump. Just by turning that to auto, we're already up north of 90 FPS, almost at 100. So just with that one setting change, look at the difference. Almost hitting 100 FPS, probably hit 100 if you go into this little room here. See, 100 FPS right here. And our 1% lows are around 70 FPS. So you're gonna have a pretty smooth experience overall. So what I wanna do is show you guys what I would call, these are the settings that I use when I play. So my play settings, since this is a 5070, you could probably leave dynamic high on. We're gonna set it at high settings and then we're going to turn down, I turn shadows to low and I turn foliage to low. Everything else I'm gonna leave it high and let's see what that has. So that put us up to 120 FPS right here, 125 FPS, and our frame time milliseconds is down anywhere from 5 to upwards of 9, just kind of bouncing around there, but that is extremely responsive and it feels super good when you're playing. These are definitely high competitive settings that I use, and this is extremely playable and enjoyable. So we've actually pushed a little bit more load to the CPU now. It's doing almost 70% now that we're pushing more frames. So the 5600X is still definitely keeping up with the 5070, since the 5070 is doing a lot more of the work at 4K, but that's crazy. 125 FPS, 130 FPS, 4K. So what I've done here is I've loaded into Buried City. I always use Buried City for my tests. I find that it really pushes processors as well as the GPU. So you can see we're getting 125, 130 FPS. Reset my graph here. So if you guys want to look right here, this is my 1% lows and my frame time is here. And then my average, or you can see frame time right here. And then if you guys want to see my average frames, you're going to just check right here. So something that I try to target on Arc Raiders, since it's competitive, I try to get under 10 milliseconds and I try to sit around 6 to 9. This is performing incredibly, over 100 FPS, high settings with RTX Global Illumination on high. And we're just using DLSS auto, just let auto do its thing. DLSS 4.5 really improves how much quality there is when you're using a lower like preset. And I think auto just does an incredible job at really balancing the look and giving you that frame pacing, improving that and just making it much more enjoyable. I'm probably in super sweaty lobbies. I've been doing a lot of PvP lately, so we'll see if I can see somebody. If I can fight somebody. Surprised I haven't ran into somebody already. Might just have to shoot some arcs. I'm just gonna shoot these. The bullet velocity on the kettle is so bad unless you upgrade it. See that? Even with an explosion, we dipped underneath 100, around 90, but this is still really good and smooth and playable. Look at that one. The heck. Overall though, this looks incredible. Arc Raiders at 4K just looks so good. Come on, bro. Why is this guy running away from me, dude? I haven't even healed up. Do I have a grenade? Oh my gosh, you're trash. This kid had trigger nades and everything, and he still died. So we're just gonna make sure we knock him out since he tried to fight me. And we're just gonna show him some respect. He actually ended up quitting, I think, or he fell through the map. Look at his stuff. It's crazy. This guy actually had a kit and lost. I didn't even put on my shield. We're gonna switch games now. So we've loaded into Borderlands 4, and if you guys saw my 3060 video, pretty much this game was completely unplayable, and unless it was on potato settings. So what I've done here is we're actually on 3840 by 2160 again, and we're on the very high preset, and the only thing I changed was upscaling was set to quality, and just leaving it on the very high preset. I haven't touched anything else. So we're gonna see how this performs. So this game honestly runs like dog water. It's kind of crazy. You can see that we're getting 40 FPS, even on a 5070 at 4K. Honestly though, I'm not surprised that this is all we're getting. My 4090 struggles pretty badly, even with being a 4090, and I have a 9800 X3D in that build, and it just struggles with this game. I think it's just they have too many of the Unreal features enabled, and this is very slow. You can see my frame time right here is over 20 milliseconds. So you're gonna feel that anytime you move the cursor. It's gonna feel really delayed, and it's gonna look choppy, and honestly for a lot of people that might make you motion sick as well. But if you come from a console and you've only experienced 30 to sub 60 gaming, you may not notice this. I am very attuned to seeing really smooth gameplay. To me, like this, it completely distracts me when I'm playing. So let's see. It's also really hard to hit your targets, and this is not a fast-paced multiplayer shooter, and it's really hard to hit this guy. It's really hard to track everything. Jeez. I'll throw some nades. Watch my nades do their thing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to optimize this a little bit. So obviously very high is a little too much. I think what we can do is we can tone down volumetric fog, volumetric clouds, could probably stay there. Shadow quality, let's turn to high. Just turn some things down. Post-processing, we'll see how much these actually impact it. Texture streaming, just do high, and just some mild changes so far. Apply those, and let's see if that improved. I immediately feel a difference. You can see my frame time here. It's still kind of up there, but it can go down as low as 16 is what I've seen. Our FPS doesn't look that different, but I can already start to feel a difference. But still being over 20 is pretty bad. So let's see, what if we put DLSS to balanced, and then let's do 8 there. Reflection quality, maybe leave that at high. We might just have to do high preset. Let's just try that. Let's try the high preset, apply, and let's see what changed. So we've hit 60 FPS now, and our frame time has gone down on average probably 5 milliseconds. This is already starting to feel more smooth. Can actually hit this guy moving. Can legit actually track this guy now. Borderlands is still just that game that's extremely difficult to run, but you can run this at around 60 FPS at 4K with this setup. So you can leave it at high, run there. I would leave it at balanced. Anything lower in this game doesn't look that great. Personally, I wish it had an auto setting, but this is a game where you'd want to use frame gen, and you could use multi-frame gen. So I just turned on multi-frame gen here. So I turned on ×4, and we're getting technically 170 FPS when it's 4 times frame gen, but we all know it's really around that 60, which if you're going to use frame gen, you want to make sure that you're at least above 60 FPS. Now that I'm using it though, this actually feels really smooth, and this is not a real frame millisecond counter. I have to use the Steam overlay for that, but I have not set it up on this PC yet. But I can tell you it is very smooth. It's really easy to track the targets now, and this is actually playable. Let's see. Use my special here. So you'd have to play this game on frame gen, unfortunately. We've loaded into Battlefield 6, and we are set to custom, and we're going to do the ultra preset. We're not going to change anything, just leave it at ultra. And then we're going to use, so we're at 3840 by 2160 again. And let's see, 100 DLSS set to quality. No frame gen. There we go. I was trying to find it. I forgot where it was. All right, so we're getting 80 FPS. Our milliseconds are, oh, anywhere from 9 to, let's say, 13. It's gonna be a little hard because I don't have my audio on right now, so I can't really hear anything. But let me see, make sure this is set correctly. Honestly, though, Battlefield is one of those games that just looks so good. But they haven't been able to recapture the audience like they used to. I grew up playing Battlefield crazy, and their whole team is back there. Honestly, 90 FPS though, this is pretty crazy. This is running really great, and this is on Ultra too, which there's no point in playing shooters on Ultra. I would always advocate for turning settings down for multiplayer games. Jeez, I haven't even gotten a kill yet. This is really bad right now. I'm so out of practice on this game, but man, this game is gorgeous. One of these days I'm gonna have to do a stream when I build these PCs. You guys can see exactly how they perform when you're playing super sweaty. There we go, hit the flank. Just killed the rat. Now I gotta turn and shoot this guy that's pushing me. I'm doing this with no audio, by the way. Luckily I know this map, so I know the lanes pretty well, but this is running amazingly. I don't even think I need to. Here, what I'll do is I'll change the settings to where more realistic settings if you want to play at that. Honestly, just use the high preset. See if it changed. I don't know if it changed. Everything is just that high. So FPS didn't jump up that much, but our frame time is looking a lot better. So we're around 9, 10. This guy didn't see me somehow, and then should have looked left before I ran around that. But this is running really good. Not a huge difference between high and ultra, honestly, other than your frame time improves. So that frame pacing is super important for super fast gaming. So I would always try to get this a little lower, but honestly, what you could do is go to your graphics settings and you could do advanced and then go to your DLSS and just change this. Does it have auto? We can honestly just set this to performance. It doesn't look that much different. And we're over 100 FPS now. I literally can't see a difference. So we're gonna peek this little corner. Just gonna cap this flag real quick. But see that little performance buff? And all we did was switch it to performance. How did that guy not kill me? It's crazy. I'll take 100 FPS at high settings at 4K with a 5600X. It's so crazy what you could build nowadays, honestly. Where's the dude that was hiding in here? These bushes are ridiculous, man. I think overall though, I'm pretty satisfied with this test. I think this one's gonna be pretty quick and I'm just gonna move on to Warhammer. Man, this game just looks so good though. I might have to start playing this again. So last up on the list, I've loaded into Total War Warhammer 3, which is one of my favorite games. And right now we're still on 4K, so 3840 by 2160. And I have everything set to high or ultra. Let's see, we're gonna switch. I'm just gonna run everything on ultra. Let's just really push this, see what it can do. Permanent, ultra, high. I'm gonna do, all right, so we're gonna apply all of those. So we have everything pretty much maxed out and we're gonna run the battle benchmark here and let's just see how it does. The 5600X actually loads this game really fast, surprisingly. So I reset the benchmark here. We're getting 69 FPS pretty consistently. The GPU is totally maxed out at 100%. So at 4K, we are totally GPU bound right now. My processor is only hitting 28% usage, and you guys can see that right here. 31% usage. Overall though, we're hitting 60 FPS. In a game like this, you could easily play 60 or 40 FPS. 60 to 40 you could, but I found that once you have more and more units on the screen, it can dip into those below 40s and it gets kind of rough. So I would definitely actually just got a stutter right there. But I would actually turn settings down here to try to get up into near 100. That way when you have multiple armies on the field and there's magic and explosions going on, you have a smooth experience. Look at that. This game is just so cool. Where else can you experience something like this? So when you zoom in, we're down to 40s, which you could definitely start to feel that 20 millisecond frame time, which to me still just, I don't like having a high frame time, but in this game you can afford to have a little bit more because it's not a super fast paced shooter where your personal accuracy comes into play. Kislev is so cool, man. Literally polar bear riders. So 56, so that's pretty good. What I want to do is turn settings down to something a little more manageable. So Do options here, and we'll just do high preset, and then I will change unit size to ultra, and then we'll run with that. And I want to turn these back on. So just stepping down from ultra to high, except for texture quality, I like to leave it high, and then unit size to high. And let's see how well it does this time around. Restart the benchmark. So already we're 74 FPS. So still staying above 60. Our frame time is around 16 milliseconds. Look at that bloodthirster. Just so crazy. If you're into Warhammer, especially the fantasy, you gotta get this game. It's just, there's nothing else like it, seeing all of these factions come to life. This is definitely playable at this point. Above 60 FPS. Remember, this is still at 4K as well, and we're using a 5600X that you can get used for $100 or brand new for $120 to $160, depending on what kind of price you can find it at. So we're hitting 50 FPS right here. All right, here come the cool polar bear calv. How cool is it to have cavalry that's literally polar bears? We're 61 FPS there, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the testing here. I think this performed really well. And honestly, at 4K, you could easily play this, but honestly, if you step down to 1440, you get much better performance. All right, so we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this one. The idea is I wanted to be able to provide a little bit of knowledge and then actually show you how you would swap that out and show you that you do not need to build a whole new PC to enjoy even 4K gaming. It is so important to understand the parts that you're putting in your PC, and this is why I advocate for you learning and actually building your PC so you know what's needed when you want to upgrade, and you can save yourself a lot of money and you can keep using the same hardware for years and years to come, as long as you put money in the right place. So if there's some takeaways from this video, it's just make sure that you put additional money into your motherboard, your power supply. You don't have to go overboard, but just make sure you have the idea in mind if you want to upgrade later, and you just need to get your foot in the door. That's what I pieced this PC together with. Was I knew I could upgrade it to a 5070 from a 3060, and all I would have to do is sell the 3060 and then use that to fund a 5070. And basically you can get a 5070 right now anywhere from $550 to $700, and you can still probably get $200 for that 3060. And honestly, you sell that, now you only have to come up with anywhere from like $4,500, and you have yourself, you go from 1080p high ultra gaming to 4K high settings with one upgrade. So just keep that in mind, guys, and I hope my videos are informative. And if you guys have any questions, I love helping and teaching people. And also, I just like to do this. I'm a gamer at heart and I love tech. I'm always looking for new tech. So if that resonates, please subscribe to my channel and definitely drop me a like on the video, and let me know down below in the comments, what do you guys think of the video format? I'm kind of trying a bunch of different formats right now to see what works. Let me know. I'm always open to feedback too. So appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next video. And until the next Let's Play, I'll see you guys on the next video. All right, see ya.